What's up, ladies and gents? CenterStrain01, your host here, and welcome to Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, the HD edition. This is kind of a primer for the walkthrough that I have going on, so make sure you check that out as well. But this video is going to be mainly focused on, for those of you that have a little trouble with the basic controls. I know that Metal Gear Solid 3 is an older game that came out in 2004 and is a little tough when it comes to translating it over into modern controls. You might be used to something today, and then you have to go back and play this, and then it's completely different. So this video is going to be here as a reference for you guys to go back to time and time again if you're having problems with the certain basic actions that you can do in the game itself. So we're going to go over to the special screen here and go to basic actions. I'm going to go through each and every single action, kind of explaining to you exactly what it does and how you can utilize it and how you can use it in the walkthrough that you are doing yourself. So again, this is just a primer for the actual walkthrough, so make sure you go and check that out if you haven't already, and hopefully this will help you learn a little bit more about the basic controls, as I want this to be a complete guide and walkthrough showing you every step and also helping you with the controls. So as we go into the beginner of the basic aspects, obviously walking is the most simplest thing that you could think of in every video game. So you're going to use the left thumbstick in order to do this, no matter what system that you're playing it on. And I'll translate it from PlayStation and Xbox, as these are the two main systems you're most likely going to be playing it on. Obviously, this is an analog kind of control. So when using this, the harder you press on that thumb pad, the more Snake will run. Now, do not, I repeat, do not think that you're going to be able to make no noise when you are using it in a stealthy manner. If you're trying to go as slow as possible, that's not going to work. There actually is another control that you can use to be as sneaky as possible. So I'll let you guys read that again. The D-pad is the thing that you want to use when it comes to stalking. You do create way less noise, so you're able to sneak up on an enemy, but you are much slower. So when you get close, like within a certain maybe 10-15 meters of an enemy, that is when you want to maybe start using your D-pad to stalk them and then slowly get up on them that way, if you want to actually take out enemies that way. I prefer not to use that, but I do use the stalking method to get by enemies, so it does help in a lot of ways. Crawling. In this version, crawling is always going to be on the A or X button on the PlayStation. PlayStation is X, A is Xbox. And it's not like it is in Metal Gear Solid 5 or Metal Gear Solid 4. So in this version, it's you hit A and then you go to a crouched position. Once you're in that crouched position, the only thing you can do if you move forward on the thumbstick is you'll go into a crawl. So you can go down and kind of duck, but that's all you'll do. It's not like you can start moving in a crouched position. There is no moving in crouched position. It is only for specifically going down into that crouched position, and then pressing forward will allow you to lie down, and then you can crawl from that point. So at sometimes when I was going through this walkthrough, got confused thinking that I would be able to crouch walk or something like that, but that is not in this game. So it is obviously, it gives you a lower profile, so your camo index will be less. Same thing with crouching and standing. As you can see, if you just press A and then press A again, you'll go from standing to crouching and crouching to standing. If you hold down the A button, you'll go directly down into the prone position, and if you hold the A button, you'll go directly into the standing position. Very easy to use. Obviously, you guys know the deal. First person view is very useful. If you want to be able to line up those headshots correctly and you're not going for the auto aim system, first person. Now, in this version of the game, it's really weird to use, or should I say in the earlier Metal Gears, it was very weird, is you kind of have to play finger hockey with the controls in order to use it. So you have to hold down RB or whatever the equivalent is on the PlayStation. I think it's R right bumper, or R1, I think it is, to go into first person view. And then you can use the left thumbstick to move around. Either you can go inverted or not inverted. That's up to you, something you can change in the options menu, but that's how you can get around with that. And then in order to use your weapon, you would need to hold the X button, or otherwise known on the PlayStation as the square button. Holding it down will put your weapon out so that you're able to kind of have it looking around, and you can aim, and you can aim down sights and all that, you know, whatever. Now, PlayStation, I believe, is sensitive, so like if you barely press it, you're able to let go of the weapon and you won't fire, but sometimes you might accidentally fire if you don't want to. Like you were going to line up a headshot, and maybe for some reason you're not going to because he's out of the way now and you want to get out of this view. Well, the only way you're going to be able to do that, because even if you let go of the RB or R1 button, it's still going to be holding that weapon. Therefore, you don't want to do that, because then when you let go fast, it's going to automatically fire and then you'll waste ammunition. So the best method for you to do is to, while you're pressing RB or R1 and pressing X and holding that down, you want to lightly tap the RT button. What that does is it unequips your weapon, so that way you can have it equipped and then unequip. If you do that every single time, you'll never have to worry about accidentally firing off a shot. It can be a little hard to get used to, so take your time with it. This is simple action on trees. Just go up to any tree, press Y or triangle. As long as you see a vine, like Snake sees right there, you'll be able to climb that tree and use it. Aiming, we've discussed about this. LB goes, I guess, into an even more kind of specific. This is mainly used for these types of weapons, as you can see. Just improves the accuracy over the other aiming that we talked about. So, although I wouldn't recommend using that in a lot of situations because it's not really good when it comes to stealth. Swimming, simple and basic. Just go into any water and then tap the A button or X button, depending on what system you're on, as fast as you can, and you'll swim through the river or whatever. Just remember that this you have an O2 gauge, and so it will eventually go down, and then you'll start taking damage and health. So you want to at least get your head above the water as fast as you can. Try to get to wherever you need to. We don't swim too much in the game if you're going through the walkthrough, but hopefully that'll help you down. It's pretty simple. Just hit Y, obviously, to go back to the surface as fast as you can, or just look up. Rolling, sometimes this is a good attack to do, and I use this on occasion, especially during the Ocelot group battle. If someone is stunned, for instance, and you roll into them, they will be knocked out. You can roll into anybody you want. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes when you roll into people, they won't necessarily be knocked out. They'll get up and then they'll go into a caution mode. So I don't recommend you use this a lot. It's mainly used for if you're about ready to end a certain area and you need to go through one enemy. You can roll through him and keep running, and then you'll be able to get to the next area before the caution thing comes up, and you should be good to go. But rolling also allows you just to be able to move fast through an area. It's definitely a lot faster than just running, so you can kind of continuously roll if that is your thing. If you're going for more of a speed run, that is something that you can use. Intrusion View, let's see, automatically when you crawl. Okay, so when you get into little trees, if you're going inside them, or say you're in the bushes, you'll go into Intrusion View, which pretty much just is a first-person view. But what this does is this just makes your camera only move your head. So you no longer can see in a third person. You no longer can see outside of the scope of where Snake is looking. So try to limit this as much as you can. You're going to have to crawl through some things, obviously, at some points, but just remember that it's a strictly first person and allows you to see through obstacles and things like that in specifically first person mode. And objects and climbing ladders, same thing as when you're climbing a tree. You want to press the Y button or the triangle button in order to climb it, and you can keep doing that to do ladders, to do boxes that are at a specific height. If it's too high, Snake will not grab it. It has to be pretty much waist high in order for Snake to grab it. And now we're going to move on to the intermediate. Hanging, don't really use this as much as you might think, but all you got to really do is just pretty much fall off a ledge or automatically grab a hold of the ledge, and then you'll be hanging. At this point, the last thing you want to do is hit the A button or X button. What you want to do is hit the Y button, which will allow you to go back up. This maneuver can be utilized sometimes in your favor. Let's say if you need to drop down from one height to another, you can catch whatever is below you by hitting the Y button as soon as you cross it. This allows you to get into areas otherwise that you might not be able to. Let's say in the swamp, for instance, when you're dangling on the wire or whatever, and you need to drop down to the other wire so you can go and get the crocodile cap, I believe it is. then this is a method that you can use, but we're not going to be doing that, so you won't see too much of it. But it is also a way to sneak around, and obviously it takes your gauge down. It's not really it's kind of like the O2 gauge. If your strength, I guess you can call it, goes all the way down, then you're automatically going to drop. So you don't want to be in this position for too long. So yeah, and you can press LT and RT or R2 and L2 to do pull-ups, and allows you to peek up over the edge. I know in Metal Gear Solid 2 you were able to build your strength up more by doing a bunch of pull-ups. I don't remember if they did that in this game or not, but it's just something to note. Quick change, this is very useful, especially when it comes to tactical reloading, which is being able to automatically reload. Let's say you're using all your weapon ammunition and you get down to where you don't have any left, right? If you just quickly tap the RT button and quickly tap it again, you'll be fully reloaded again. You don't have to go through the animation of actually reloading your weapon. So it's just a very, very quick way to do that. But also remember, if you do that, then you will not have magazines in order to be able to use as distractions or things like that. So some cases you're going to want to do the tactical reload, especially when you're fighting against bosses. Other cases you're not going to want to do the tactical reload if you're just trying to build up magazines. And the same thing that can be said for the left side, which is the LT button. It's just equipping and unequipping as fast as possible. Now this is where a lot of people might actually use. This allows you to be able to stalk up to an enemy, grab them, and knock them down. So all this pertains to is hitting the B button or the circle button on the PlayStation. Now, what you want to do is you want to walk up to an enemy slowly, and then you want to let go of the, or excuse me, you don't want to let go. You want to, well, it's kind of weird. You have to let go and then press it again. That's how I do it. But you got to hold down that B button, and you should be able to, in any direction that you want, and you should throw him in that direction. And that is the easiest way that you're going to be able to do this. And it's only workable on CQC weapons. Weapons will be shown CQC in your item menu when you hit the RT or LT. You'll know if a specific weapon that you're using is CQC. Pretty much all handguns are CQC. Not too many assault rifles are CQC, but there'll be an emblem and you'll be able to find out exactly. The chokehold, now this is what I like to use sometimes, especially if you want to get information. So all this is what you want to do is you want to walk up slowly to an enemy, stop, don't press anything except for B, like let go of the direction or the thumb pad, hold it down, and then you'll automatically grab a hold of that enemy soldier, and then you can at that point keep it pressed and then move the direction and go, you know, hide him or whatever you want to do. Eventually, the more that you do that, he'll finally get knocked out. If you want to knock him out a little bit quicker, while you're doing that, while you're holding the B button, you can press the directional pad, which will allow you to choke him out a little bit faster. And this just allows you to be able to obviously put him in a chokehold and be stealthy without getting caught. The threaten option, this is when you hold the left stick. Let's say you just did what I just discussed. Hold the left stick down while an enemy is in your hands. The left stick being the left thumb pad, and then you'll go into a interrogation mode, and then he'll give you specific information, like there might be a food storage somewhere that you can take out, or he might tell you guards that are in the area or things like that. He'll help you in some way. I don't really use it at all because I don't really hold up too many enemies in the walkthrough. Slit throat, obviously we're never going to use this, but again, get them into a chokehold and then just press the Y or triangle, and then you can slit their throat if you're going for a more lethal playstyle. Human shield, again, if you accidentally get caught and you're in a problem and situation, just quickly press the X button after you grab the enemy in a chokehold, and then you can use them as a human shield. Alright, this method is actually a pretty good method as well. You can hold down the left stick and press the B button while the enemy is in the chokehold to throw them. And once you throw them, then you want to immediately equip your weapon, and just by hitting the X button or square button, hold it down, and then you'll immediately get them into a hold up mode so they won't get up. As long as they don't see where you are and they're looking down in the ground like that, you can go any way you want. You don't have to worry about them ever calling anything on you. Corner view is is something you're going to want to use a lot as well to make sure areas are clear. It allows you to move the camera around and whatnot. It's a little tricky to use once you get up against an actual wall or cover by pressing towards it on the left thumbstick, move left or right, and then press LT or RT depending on the direction that you're facing, and you'll be able to peek out. Then you can use the right thumbstick to look around the camera so you can get a better view on the situation. Accurate find. So the lower position you are, the more steady your hands are going to be. If you're in a prone position, you're going to fire a lot better and easier. You will have less recoil than if you were standing up straight up with an assault rifle, something like that. So your best bet is to, as many times as you can, fire from the crouched position, as you'll have the best aiming possible. But since we're mainly going to be using handguns and the Mark 22, you're not going to have to worry too much about recoil. And now we're going to move on to the final section, which is advanced. The corner jump shootout. This is a way to easily take out enemies. This is an automatic kind of fire rate, so once you have certain weapons in your hands and you're in corner view, you can jump out and use this. So align yourself the same way you did in the previous, and then pretty much just hit the X button when you're peeking out and let go of it, and boom, you'll be able to fire. It's an automatic thing. It's not like you'll be able to choose where you aim, so use it in the best situation that you can. So press the LT or RT button to go into first person to sidestep left or right. I use this a lot, and you might see this in the walkthrough. All this means is, let's say if I go into first person view, and then while I'm in first person view, I need to see around a corner, okay? Because what happens is your body is still behind the specific cover you're in, but once you sidestep, you're able to look around that cover, but yet they won't be able to see you. And I use this a lot in the walkthrough because it allows me to be able to be behind cover, peek out, and then get a headshot on them without them actually being able to see me. So this is very, very useful, and it's going to come in handy a lot during the walkthrough. So once you get better at the whole using the side swipe thing, it'll be a lot easier for you. If you hold both LT and RT down at the same time, that'll allow you to kind of look up, like straight up, as opposed to specifically left LT and specifically right. And you can also use it when you're in front of the door and you want to peek through the door. We won't be using this too much, but you can hang from trees and pretty much just press the X button with certain weapons like a regular handgun, and you'll be able to go into your first person view mode, and you can aim and do what you need to, but this will not come in handy too much. Let's say you take out an enemy, you need to drag their body. Very simple. Unequip your weapon, press the X button near a downed enemy, and you'll be able to pick their body up, drag them to some specific cover or a hiding spot. This will also usually produce you some type of item or equipment. So if you do this a few times, you might be able to grab, you know, a suppressor or some Mark 22 ammo or different ammo for different weapons. So do it a few times if you need to. I do this in the walkthrough a few times so that way I can get a few extra ammunition. So it's up to you, but again, if you're going to take out enemies on a normal basis, you want to hide their bodies so they don't get seen by others, and that is how you do it. Very simple. Heavier weapons, if you want to utilize a weapon that's already placed on the map itself, you can do that just by walking up to it and pressing Y, which is the action button. So it's like kind of the use item button or whatever. It's the main button you use in order to climb, in order to you know, use a weapon. Very, very easy. And then making noise, this comes in handy if you want to get a guard in a certain area, especially. I will do this a few times in the walkthrough as, like, say I need to get around an enemy, but this enemy is directly blocking the path that I need to get to. So I'll go, for instance, around to another building that's right next to him. I'll knock on it, get his attention over to where I was, and then run over to the other side so that I can sneak past him. Very simple to do. Just get up against cover and press the B or circle button. The right stick. So the right stick is utilized in many different ways, and the way that's going to be utilized the most is if you're in third-person view, as this is your camera. In Subsistence, that came out in 2005, was the upgraded version from Snake Eater, and in that version you were able to do third-person view. Before that, it was specifically a top-down view. So if you want to go into that old-style top-down view, which sometimes actually can come in handy because it allows you to see enemies that you wouldn't normally be able to see in third person, just use your right thumbstick, click it in, and then move it left and right, up and down, so you can get a layout of the map, what's ahead, what's behind you, what's to the right, and what's to the left. And then click it back again to go back into third person view. This definitely comes in handy, and I'll use it a few times throughout the walkthrough. Disarming, this is very simple. If you shoot a specific part of an enemy's body, it will react accordingly. So if the enemy has a weapon in their hand, if you shoot that hand, the weapon will drop. If the enemy has a radio in their hand, if you shoot the radio, the enemy will drop it. So if you're trying to be as stealthy as possible, we're not ever going to have to worry about this. But if you do get caught for some reason and an enemy is calling in reinforcements, quickly shoot the radio, and then he won't be able to call in the reinforcements. So it does come in handy sometimes, but we're never really going to be using it. And last up is the hold up. So all you have to do is bring your gun to an enemy's back while in close proximity to hold them up, meaning get close to them and then press the X button. Now here's the thing. Another easier thing for you to do would be to get close to them and click in the left thumbstick. What that does is the left thumbstick automatically brings up your weapon and goes into auto targeting. So as soon as you get close to an enemy, press and click the left thumbstick and your weapon will go up, and as soon as Snake gets close enough to where he'll say pretty much freeze, and then that enemy will put his arms up, and then you can go around the enemy and do what you need to do. At that point, once you get in front of the enemy, then you can press the RB to go into your first person view and then hold the X button down, and that way you're able to put the camera where you want. So aiming at the head or aiming at the private parts will allow you to have him shake himself, and you'll be able to get items and things like that. And at that point, you pretty much can do whatever you want to him. If you turn around and just don't face him, then you can get out of there without fear of him doing anything. But my recommendation is if you get him in this, go ahead and hold the B button down and press a direction, and then boom, take him out quickly with a choke slam or whatever. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little refresher of the basic actions. Don't forget again to check out the walkthrough. Hopefully your 2018 is going to be a great year. Thanks everybody for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and of course, I'll see you next time. Peace out.